السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد, we all are aware a little bit about astronomy. We know that there are different types of planets. Some planets extremely hot, some planets extremely cold, some planets that, well, most planets that are not really inhabitable. You cannot go there and live. You would either, your whole body would just blow up, or you would melt, or something would happen to you. You have Mars, you have Jupiter, you have Saturn, you have the moon, you have the sun, and you have trillions and trillions of other stars out there in the galaxy. Yet somehow, with all of these planets and stars that are coming to life and stars that are dying in different galaxies, somehow you and I find ourselves on the best planet for human beings to live on. It's not a coincidence, as many people put out the idea that are non-Muslims, and it's not for any random reason that you and I find ourselves on planet Earth. So much so that there are sounds of what these planets sound like, and if you compare them to the world, it's very different. You have like really weird noises, vibrating noises, high-pitched noises, low-pitched noises, but then you wake up in the morning and you hear birds chirping on planet Earth. If you're by a river, the river is flowing. If you're in the mountains, you feel that fog coming, and somehow you and I are on planet Earth. And it is not by any random way that you and I find ourselves here. It is not by any random chance that this world somehow grows all the food that you and I need to eat and survive. Allah Azza wa Jal is the creator of the entire cosmos, everything in existence. And He is the one who owns this creation, and He is the one that commands this creation. This all makes sense. Now, Allah Azza wa Jal has sent us messengers, has sent us prophets so that we can learn, so that we can be guided. Here we are, human beings, sons and daughters of Adam alayhi salam. Here's the guidance for you by way of messengers and prophets alayhimus salam. Someone may ask, well, why weren't we sent down an angel? Because if the unseen was revealed to you and you go against what an angel would come down to you with, do you believe in Allah, yes or no? No, boom, done deal, that's it. You failed the test right then and there. It's gone. But we have human messengers, human prophets, alayhimus salam, that we learn from. Now, we have Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam that Allah Azza wa Jal sent to us, the last prophet, the seal of all prophets. And there were people around him. Those people around him are who we call the companions, radiyallahu anhum. Some of them, obviously not all people around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam supported him. There was still kuffar, there was still fire worshippers, there was still idol worshippers, there was still Christians, there was still Jews. All of that still happening. Yet, we have near the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam a prime example, as Shaykh Karim calls it, a experimental group of people, and we learn from them. So we have a 3-step plan. If you want to safeguard yourself in this life and the next, you get to know Allah Azza wa Jal, you get to know who your Lord is, you get to learn who the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is, and you do this by learning it with evidences from the religion. You can't just make up stuff, right? So we learn from Quran and Sunnah with the understanding of the 3 praised generations of Muslims. The first, the second, and the third generation of Muslims. Now, I just want to take us through a journey of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, because that's what I've been around this last couple of weeks, just learning more about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And I want to share with you some scenes that I captured, and I want us to kind of compare ourselves with the people around the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Compare yourself with the behavior and the mannerisms of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Now, we know that the best of this ummah is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Right? The best of our ummah is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. You don't top him when it comes to his virtue. You can't top him. So much so that when the time came that they were choosing Abu Bakr as a Khalifa, Umar radiallahu anhu said that how can someone else be chosen to lead us when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is here amongst us? He's here. How can you put someone above him? When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose him to lead the prayer. So how can you top that, you know? How can you top that? Abu Bakr's family, radiallahu anhum, has a very interesting dynamic, okay? His father accompanied the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr accompanied the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His children accompanied the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his grandchildren accompanied the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you have 4 generations that are around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at this family, a family of believers, 4 generations, and they all met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or accompanied him. There was not a hypocrite in the family of Abu Bakr. This is a family of believers, not a wishy-washy family of, yeah, sometimes we believe and sometimes we don't believe. You know, it just depends. Depends who I'm around or how I'm feeling. Whatever, you know, our desires are over our deen. There are Muslims who, you know, at this time around, they have trees in their house and they do put presents under it and they do get into the Christmas spirit of things. They do that. And yet they were born Muslim. But they're not guided, of course. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to never misguide us after He has guided us. So this is a family of believers. You and I should also look at ourselves, right? Of course, you and I cannot accompany Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam right now. That's out of the question. But can you and I accompany hadith? Can you and I accompany tafsir? Can you and I accompany fiqh? Can you and I accompany tajweed? Can you and I be around scholars? Can you and I read more about Quran? Can you and I learn more about whatever branch of knowledge that you find yourself being attracted to? Not everybody likes tafsir. Not everybody excels in tafsir. Not everybody excels in hadith. Not everybody excels in fiqh. Different people have their own things. Did your father accompany that? Are you accompanying, let's say for example, tafsir, okay? Yes, I learned Quran from my dad. He used to sit down and teach it to us. I also sit down and I read. And I teach my child. And my child teaches his child. Are we like this unit, this family unit of believers? Or are we like a family unit of hypocrites? You know, one wandering off that way, another wandering off that way. Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, one of his daughters, Asma, radiallahu anha, check this out. Her mother was not a Muslim. And her mother is coming to her house with gifts, okay? With gifts. Now, obviously, you know, if you're entering someone's house and you have gifts, it's a pretty joyful thing. It's not a, you know, Debbie Downer, oh, what are you doing here? You know, it's like, wow, you know, gift, welcome, ahlan wa sahlan. Asma, radiallahu anha, refuses to open the door for her mom because she's not Muslim. Well, you're not a believer, I'm sorry. You can't come close. You can't, I'm sorry. Doors are locked. Asma sent word to her sister, Aisha radiallahu anha. And Aisha radiallahu anha told her, let her in, what are you doing, you know? And that's when Allah Azza wa Jal sent down the ayat, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين وأخرى. So pretty much the summary of these 2 verses that came down is If someone is not trying to kill you or invade your house, deal with them in a kind manner and deal with them justly, because Allah Azza wa Jal loves those who are just. Okay? But look at how protective they were. Look, this is Asma's mom. Okay? But because she's not Muslim, you cannot enter. But what do we now allow into our homes? Right? We're not saying these stories for no reason. We're trying to compare. We're trying to juxtapose, right? What do we allow into our homes? And with the advent of the iPhone and different cellular devices, it's become a very, 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 very hard thing to control. You have all of the evil and all of good right there in your hand. Whatever you feel like doing. But again, we are talking about companions, radiallahu anhum. They possessed a level of fear. Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, possessed a level of fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. So much so that in the beginning days of Islam, when Abu Bakr became Muslim, he would recite Quran in front of his house. First of all, the people in Mecca, the elders would say, listen, okay, you want to stay in Mecca, you want to be Muslim, fine. But all this Islam stuff, you can do this in your house. You don't do it in the public, okay? You don't bring it out to us. Do it in your home. And Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, did that. But then he excelled even more, where he would sit in the courtyard of his house and the people would listen to Al-Quran, and actually they would see him weep and he would cry when he would recite Quran. Because this weeping, I read from one of the Salaf, is either from extreme grief, just this deep level of sorrow, or extreme joy that causes you to cry, that causes tears to roll down. You feel it deep down. That's one of the two extremes. Sometimes someone says it's happy tears, and sometimes it's not happy tears. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is out there giving da'wah. How? Reciting Al-Quran. That was his da'wah technique, to recite it out loud. And people would hear it and say, this is a human being did not say this. This is not from planet Earth. This is the doings of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's how he would do da'wah. Again, we mention these scenes and then we compare ourselves to it. How do you do da'wah? How do you do da'wah? Not everybody goes out there and stands in front of a, ICNA booth or something and stands there every single Saturday. Not everybody is out there, How do you give da'wah? Is it in the back of your head? Do you kind of, approach your workplace with a little bit of wisdom? Someone asks you, hey, do you want to come down to the Christmas party? Do you drink? Do you drink alcohol? No, I don't do that. I don't know what that is. That's not me. And then you explain, a chance for you to explain. Do you give da'wah? Again, during the early days of Islam, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, sometimes, or in some moments, or in many scenes actually, people would kind of abuse the Prophet ﷺ and beat him and hit him. And one of the narrations is that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he had his hair in a braid. And when he would go out there to defend Rasulullah ﷺ, he would come back and his braids would be, sometimes these fighters, they go into a fight with a tight braid, and after the 15-minute fight, UFC fight or whatever, their hair is all, wild and it's loose. So the narration mentions that he had braids. He went out to defend Rasulullah ﷺ, came back, and his braids was so that if you touched it, it would kind of just loosen out. It would undo. So you tell me what went down. Obviously, it's kind of hard to compare that today. You know, you don't go out there and, kill yourself, whatever. But it shows you the level that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went to defend the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you defend yourself from misguidance? Do you defend yourself from having the right knowledge? Do you defend your family from these non-Islamic beliefs? Do you defend yourself from whims and desires? Do you defend yourself from sin? Again, I'm mentioning these scenes so that we can compare them, so we can ask ourselves these questions, because it's very easy to make an image in your head of these scenarios. The children of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, we gave one example about Asma. There's another example. One of his children would, when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to migrate to Medina, his son would go into Mecca, pay attention and learn and kind of do intelligence and see what's going on. And at the night time, he would go to them to report to them what are the Meccans talking about, what are they doing. Does your child serve this religion? Does your child learn about this religion? Are they in some sort of program? Are they getting some kind of learning? Yes or no? If they are getting a learning, are they getting a Islamic learning, or are they getting whiplashed mentally and spiritually in the public schools? All of these are scenes that happened to Sahaba. All of these are real scenes. These are real people who actually went there, who actually preferred the hereafter, who actually prevented themselves from falling into a desire because they knew what? They knew that right now, if I sacrifice my Islam, if I sacrifice my religion for a moment of pleasure, it's going to bite me back on the Day of Judgment. Because you have something that's temporary versus something that is permanent. One of the moments, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, Abu Bakr says that, Ya Rasulullah, you only die once. It's over. It's done. You were a human being. You went through the pangs of death, and you passed, and this is it. That's that. Now it's a completely different thing that's going to happen. Yawm al-Qiyamah, Jannah, Jahannam. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, we can take many scenes from his life. We can take many examples from his life, and we can compare it, and we can learn from it. And we can do this with any Sahaba, because they were just a different level. Allah Azza wa Jal is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Allah Azza wa Jal. Imagine living this life, and the glad tidings of you entering Jannah for sure, 100%, has been brought down while you're living on planet Earth. So you're not here for any random reason. You're not here just because you're here. You're here for a reason. And you're here to discover Allah Azza wa Jal, to worship Him with sincerity and in accordance to how the Prophet ﷺ did it. In accordance to Quran and Sunnah. That's how we're supposed to conduct our lives. And anything else besides that, it won't lead to any success. Because you have the group of Allah Azza wa Jal and you have the group of Shaitan. Which one do you fall into? And like I mentioned, I want to summarize with this, that in order for us to be the successful ones on planet Earth and in the hereafter, learn about Allah Azza wa Jal, your Creator. learn about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, your messenger, and learn about the Sahaba, learn about the companions that were around him and what they went through, how they were when it came to the religion and the faith that they had and their actions that they would do. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إقرارا به وتوحيدا وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما مزيدا. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة. استووا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.